And we're live.
Well, good evening, folks. There is outrage all over America right now, as just yesterday, the Trump administration has finalized the implementation of a bump stock ban here in America, and gun owners across the country right now are ticked. Good evening, folks. Aaron Dorr here, one of your hosts tonight with the Second Amendment Daily Show, joined, as always, with our three co-sponsors, Patrick Parsons and Georgia gun owners down there in the Deep South staying warm. We've got Chris Dorr, my brother, in Ohio with Ohio gun owners, and Benjamin Dorr, another brother of mine. We're all kind of brothers in a fashion, but a real brother of mine in Minnesota with Minnesota Gun Rights. And, guys, this podcast is going to be a continuation of the theme we've had to unfortunately deal with over the last couple of weeks now, and that is the NRA continuing to give away the farm, continuing to not fight when we need them to fight, and continuing to just surrender the ground. And so many gun owners are angry. And I think our primary purpose in this broadcast, I think we want to figure out who's to blame. Who is to blame? How
NRA.
Did this happen? Should we be mad at Trump? Should we be mad at Congress? Should we be mad at the NRA? Where does the fault lie? Because we all know this is just one infringement that will continue to come time and time again as we let this happen. And what you guys are going to see in tonight's video podcast might make some of you mad. But we have three separate pieces of evidence, if you will, three separate times where the NRA has come out and said, take them. We don't care. And I don't know about you guys, but I care when the NRA concedes the field. So that's the purpose of tonight's show, guys. As always, be sure and comment in whatever state you're watching this in. Of course, as you guys probably know by now, we do gun politics in a whole bunch of states. So if you're watching this right now in Wyoming or Wisconsin or North Carolina or New York or other states that you don't see on the banners here, be sure and let us know where you're watching from, because we're everywhere. As long as you have a rental car, we're good to go, and we're fighting for gun rights in state capitals all across the country. So, guys, that's kind of what we have for you tonight. This is going to be a pretty intense show. And again, we might make some folks mad, but we're losing ground, guys. I mean, we're losing ground right now. I think you guys all agree with me on that. And we shouldn't be losing ground when we had a majority, for heaven's sakes. And so we got some audio feedback here coming from somebody.
Sorry about that. That was me.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So, Patrick, we have some clips here ready to go. I think before I even discuss that, though, we have a lot of gun owners out there who are saying that, it's just not a big deal right now for them, that they're not that worried about this because it's only a bump stock. And before we discuss, what's that?
Buds.
Yeah, exactly. I think before we discuss, who's actually to blame here on this, we have to discuss what this means. We have so much background noise here, guys. We got to get that shut down. Because gun guys might have this impression that it's only a bump stock. The problem is, and we all know this, that these guys, their philosophy is always the same. If we can get an inch, they're going to try and take a mile.
Slippery
and if they can
slope.
blame, and Pelosi openly said that last year when she was asked, might this lead to more gun control? What did she say? What was her response?
She said, she didn't just say, this is a slippery slope. She said, I hope this is a slippery slope to more gun control. That was Pelosi.
In other words, these people are operating from the tactical perspective. They want to build on every single engagement. You dang right it's going to be a slippery slope because they're going to make it that way. That's what they do.
So we know it's not about the bump stock. We know it's not about the accessory. If we can see the ground on an accessory and we allow these people to blame a tool for the actions of a violent psychopath murderer in Las Vegas, what's next? Are we going to lose our collapsible stocks? Are we going to lose our 30-round magazines, our 100-round magazines? Are we going to lose, our 10-round magazines? Where does this end? So gun owners have to care. Even if you don't like bump stocks, we have to care. We'll discuss the policy.
This didn't even have time. I was just going to say, this didn't even have time to turn into a slippery slope. It went from a bump stock ban to red flags back in February in a matter of days. It didn't even it was a bump stock ban to every gun control scheme you can think of in a matter of days at the beginning of 2018. So
yep.
They didn't beat around the bush at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, before we discuss the NRA here, which is going to start in about 5 seconds, We just have to all get in the same page and realize that it doesn't matter what accessory they're taking from us. If we allow them to take accessories away, if we say we don't need that one, well, then there is no chance we have in defending other things like AR-15s or magazines that we, quote unquote, do need. So we have to, I think, divorce ourselves of this idea that that if we don't use this particular item, that it doesn't matter to gun owners. We know that we're leading down a slippery slope very, very quickly.
I hope for those of you who are watching, does that make sense to you guys? Because we got a lot of people on our Facebook pages lately that are just getting all wound up about this, and they're digging in. They're saying, they're just bump stocks. Who cares? I want to make sure Aaron's point is coming across loud and clear. When you start letting them go, I mean, we've all seen this meme. First, they came for my assault rifles, and I didn't say anything because I didn't need one. Then they came for my I mean, we've all seen it. Does this make sense? Because if there's any ambiguity here, we want to hammer this point home. You look back at our founding fathers, and they got all wound up about a stamp tax that in today's society is just like nothing. But these people went to war. They sacrificed their lives and their fortune and their sacred honor, and they put it all on the line because of these things. And yet here we are saying, "Oh, we have no problem negotiating away some of these rights." So I want to drill down right there because it's very frustrating, I think, to see some of the people who are so carelessly throwing these things under the bus and not really getting a grasp of what they're throwing away when they do this. So anyway, end of my little rant there.
Well, hey,
you let us know, guys.
We've got these clips, guys. Look, welcome in everybody from Georgia, especially. Let me know where you're watching from down in Georgia. But what we have right now, we have 3 different clips, and I'm going to run them 1, come back, 2, and then 3, and come back, and we're going to just talk about them for just a second. But, Micah, do you have the first clip ready of the NRA statement? The NRA statement. Okay, so, guys, we're going to play this here in just a second. Here's the statement from the National Rifle Association back in October after Las Vegas, and we're going to flash it on the screen. This is them, and you can see it, where they say that the NRA believes that there should be additional regulations on bump stocks. This was over a year ago. So there we go. We got it up, Micah? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got it on the screen there, guys. Even if you can't read it that well, let me try to read it here. The NRA believes that devices designed to allow semi-automatic rifles to become like fully automatic rifles should be subject to additional regulations. All right, back to the full screen, Micah. Let's go, everybody. So that was the first clip. That was the opening salvo in this fight, and we all saw it then. Y'all probably saw. Did all of y'all post that on Facebook when we saw that, 12 months ago?
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, everybody had that. We knew what was coming. Obviously the Trump administration did this, but that statement from the NRA was just the political cover that they needed, just the political cover that they needed to go forward with this. Now, the second clip, we'll just do this quickly, Micah. It's the New York Times article. So then we saw this. We've got the New York Times. NRA supports new rules on bump stock devices. Bam. Okay. That was directly from the NRA, New York Times, right there. So again, more political cover. I saw it, New York Times, Washington Post, when I was doing the research earlier today, Huffington Post, Politico, all the left-wing news outlets. So it's out there now. And yes, Trump administration, they see that. Oh, we've got political cover. And I guarantee you, we know how things work in D.C., guys. The NRA was on the phone within 24 hours with President Trump saying, what can we do about this, or 48 hours or whatever. Or he probably said, what can we do about this? And they said, well, we think there should be additional regulations. Now, don't run it yet, Micah, until I say go. Okay, get the video ready. This is kind of the climax, the piece de resistance, or whatever it is in French, if anybody out there speaks French. What you are about to see is video of the executive vice president of the National Rifle Association, or maybe it's just the VP, Wayne LaPierre. He was on CBS Face the Nation, and here he is in his own words. So if you doubt me, here is Wayne LaPierre in his own words, saying that the NRA supports the bump stock ban, and he says the ATF should do its job.
Is the NRA position it can't be done?
That's what he said. So let's go ahead and play the video. Go ahead, Micah.
Is the NRA position it can't be done through legislation, or you oppose it? Where are you on this?
No, we think ATF ought to do its job, look at this, and draw a bright line.
If I'm a Republican and I'm a fan of the NRA, do I want to say no or yes to legislation that does this?
I think you want to tell ATF to do its job. It's an interpretive issue, and they need to get the job done.
So there you had it, guys, right from the horse's mouth. That is the NRA supporting the bump stock ban on national television to millions of people. So that's the evidence I have. Any of you guys here that are on with us, Chris, Aaron, Ben, go ahead and pick up on it if you have any thoughts. But what more evidence do we need to show that the NRA is not on your side on virtually any of these issues? And if this is a slippery slope, they started it. They started it.
Well, we've been hammered on this, I think, for a couple of weeks now. Before we even discuss the minutia of this betrayal, it's just to kind of remember where the hell we were when this happened. I mean, we just got past. Well, we were 10 months past the election. I mean, we just got past the fear of having the Obama administration come after every one of our guns and our BB guns, for heaven's sakes. We just got the idea that perhaps we could go on offense. Maybe we could finally get some freedom back. National reciprocity, the National Hearing Control Act. All these things we could finally maybe regain some lost ground. And then within a matter of less than a year, the NRA comes out there and totally threw a landmine, threw a hand grenade into the forward momentum that we were making as gun owners. They obliterated it. Because once Dianne Feinstein, once Nancy Pelosi, once all these people in Congress watched the NRA tuck tail and ran away, they knew that, boom, we got them on the run. Now's our chance to go for it. And they did.
I think another thing, too, is that we've seen that Trump is malleable. Like, he responds to the grassroots. I mean, he hears what the people are saying. So the day that Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox put out this statement, I mean, he would have known immediately that this thing is going to be a little bit controversial, and he would have looked right over and looked to them for some input as the natural, the biggest stakeholder in the conversation. And if they had sat there and simply said, no, Mr. President, 2020 is going to be a very difficult year, and we want to be able to support you 100%. We're drawing the line here. Absolutely not. But, that just hasn't been their policy. But I mean, President Trump has shown that he's open to hearing this stuff. If they had gone through the door and had that conversation, I don't think we ever would have been anywhere close to where we are.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have to. I mean, we can't varnish the truth here. I mean,
that's true.
President Trump is totally guilty of this decision. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. And if you're in Iowa and watching on the Iowa Gunners page, it's Matt Whitaker who signed the order just last week as the temporary AG who made this happen. But Chris's point is 100% spot on. I mean, look, we all know he's not a gun guy. I mean, he's a New York City real estate developer turned president. His big issues in life are not guns. And so he's going to naturally defer to the biggest stakeholder in the conversation, to use that phrase. And, when the NRA comes out there and says, hey, you can roll with it, well, then, he's just going to defer because they're the biggest player on the field. And when the biggest player on the field says, you know what, you can do it, well, then of course it's going to happen because it's not as big issue.
They had all kinds of tools at their disposal. They have the same tools that we use here as a state-based organization. They could have gone to their members and started firing up their troops and saying, hey, let's start bombarding the White House with your calls, your emails, your messages and stuff. I mean, it's but no, they didn't do that. Dead air.
It's just unforgivable. I mean, I keep coming back. I just can't stop thinking about the fact that we are finally on offense. We were finally at a position to advance the agenda, to get some freedom back for a change. All those gun owners who gave millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a year to the NRA to stop Obama, and hundreds of millions of dollars to go out there and stop Hillary Clinton. This was our shot, and what happens? Nothing.
Yeah. And look, and I want to say this too. the tone deaf. Look, the NRA is bad enough, but the tone deaf nature of the inside the Beltway, hanging out at the White House Christmas parties, you know, and being tone deaf about what's going on in this country when it comes to Second Amendment is just outrageous. And that's why I'm so glad that we're here tonight, and we're going to have thousands and thousands of people watch this thing again tonight, guys. But, you know, we are at war here and not actively calling it like we see it. Okay, a lot of y'all out there love Trump. A lot of people on this video probably do too. But the fact is they did something wrong, really wrong, and no amount of hanging out in D.C. like the NRA does at the Christmas parties and taking pictures at the White House is going to stop this stuff, man. It's not going to stop red flags. Y'all are going to stop red flags. We are going to stop red flags through grassroots activism, not hobnobbing with the political elites at the White House in Washington, D.C. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce back here for a moment, guys. In case you're getting tuned in right now, we're gonna readdress the point we made about 10 minutes ago. I have a comment here from Chris in Missouri, and I'm not gonna slam you, Chris. Don't worry about that. But he says, "Sorry, I'm a gun advocate, but y'all are you're overreacting to this way too much, way too much. If it was a slippery slope, the full auto ban would have been the start. We'd be a lot worse off today as gun owners." He's trying to make the point that, you know, that we have to give a little, I think, to try to save more. And, you know, I think we all agree that this has been the failure of the NRA for decades. For decades, they always assume that we have to concede a little bit and then we can like somehow save it. But I mean, Chris, I mean, if you were ever involved in a schoolyard fight when you were in second grade, you know, if a bully knocked you down and you laid there and just took it, is he going to like leave you alone? I mean, that's just not how life works. And that's dang sure not how politics works. If you don't fight back, if we don't stand up and say, we don't care if it's a bump stock, we don't care if it's a collapsible stock, we don't care if it's a binary trigger, we don't care if it's a 30-round mag, we don't care if it's a tack light, you know, whatever it is, these accessories are part of our right to keep and bear arms. And while technology changes, damn it, our rights don't change. We don't lose them based on, you know, as time moves down the road. And so the idea that we have to sit here and just say, you know what, I don't personally own a bump stock or personally think it's cool, so I don't care, that is short-sighted. And we're going to have to hit that point, I think, off and on tonight.
All you need to do to put that into perspective is look what's happening as a result of this stuff. Does it look like the gun control organizations are now backing up and acting like they are appeased? Or does it rather look like they're coiling up like a rattlesnake, getting ready to strike? I mean, and if you're watching in Ohio tonight, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. But we've said this here on our Ohio videos before, but the cowering dog gets kicked. If we act like a bunch of cowering dogs, and they come up here and they start kicking, if we don't bite back, they're gonna keep kicking us. They're gonna keep kicking. And all you have to do is look at all of the talk and the coverage right now of red flags, gun confiscation, to know that this idea that giving up bump stocks is going to buy us anything is Pollyanna in the extreme.
Yeah, I mean, gun rights politics either goes forward or backwards. Your rights are either advancing or they're declining. There's never like a year-long period where nobody's looking to advance anything. You know, no gun rights are trying to be taken away. There's none of that. So the moment you sit back and go, it's just a bump stock, nobody cares about a bump stock, you're basically saying that, well, we don't care if all of a sudden we're going backwards now, because that's where we're going forward. We're going for national reciprocity. We're going for other pro-gun reforms. And instantly, in a moment, we've been going backwards. And now we've been going backwards ever since. So maybe you would have lost your mind if they were trying to ban, your carry pistol or your AR-15 or your hunting rifle. Maybe that seems like a big deal to you. But either way, we're going backwards now, and we've been going backwards ever since the Parkland, Florida shooting when this stuff kicked off. So a bump stock ban to us is every bit as serious as an AR-15 ban or a ban on anything else Second Amendment related, because now we're going backwards.
Well, look, let me run those. If some of y'all are just joining us, y'all, we are talking about the bump stock ban, the NRA providing political cover. I'm in Georgia. Aaron's in Iowa. Ben, Minnesota, and Chris in Ohio.
I'm working out of office tonight.
You're working out of the office tonight. I see the political map behind
hey
you.
Hey guys, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. Ben is actually out here visiting me in Ohio, and I can prove it to you guys. You see this right here? You see this little piece of paper? Watch Ben's video feed. This thing is gonna come flying through it here in just a second.
That looked like a Minnesota Twins toss there, huh?
Yeah, call me Jack Morris. Call me Jack Morris.
If you guys hear some echo, that's the reason for the echo tonight.
Yeah, sorry,
guys.
Sorry, guys.
So here's the deal. I'm going to play 3 slides for y'all again. A lot of y'all are asking on my comment to see those slides again. So the first slide, Micah, go ahead and throw it up. This is the NRA statement from October of 2017. This was the opening salvo in this fight. The bump stock fight. They said additional regulations are needed. That's right there. Additional regulations are needed. Wait for a second, Mike. I'm going to read it here real quick. I'm going to wait till it pops up on my screen. It may take a minute, but if not, go ahead and flip it, Micah. Go ahead and flip it. And so there you have it, guys. That was the opening line from the NRA after Las Vegas. They said that quote-unquote bump stocks need additional regulations. That is a statement from the NRA website, directly from their website, from LaPierre and Chris Cox. And then now we have, you see all these stories starting to come out. Leave it on this one for a second, Micah. You've got the NRA supports new rules on bump stock devices. That's New York Times, Politico, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, all across the country, Huffington Post. Okay, back to us, Micah. And then the final one, the whatever the French word is that I used earlier that I have no idea what I'm talking about, is the video, and not yet, Mike, I'll tell you when to go. The Wayne LaPierre, the executive vice president of the National Rifle Association, going on national television, and telling the world that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, is okay with the ATF doing their job, aka regulating bump stocks. This was 14 months ago. Here we are, 14 months later. Bam!
The NRA
political
position
cover given to the Trump administration. Go ahead with the video.
Is the NRA position it can't be done through legislation, or you oppose it? Where are you on this?
No, we think ATF ought to do its job, look at this, and draw a bright line.
If I'm a Republican and I'm a fan of the NRA, do I want to say no or yes to legislation that does this?
I think you want to tell ATF to do its job. It's an interpretive issue, and they need to get the job done.
So there it was again, literally out of the horse's mouth, Pepe Le Pew, Wayne LaPierre. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Pepe Le Pew. I heard that from a guy a long time ago who we shall not mention, but.
Well, and just to be clear, in case people are kind of wondering about this, I mean, we haven't mentioned the obvious. First of all, again, guys, we're identifying the cause and the blame, where the blame should lie on the bump stock ban. We mentioned that Trump definitely owns a chunk of this. The NRA owns the super vast majority of this. There's more cast of characters coming. We're going to get those in a few minutes, but we have to also point out the obvious fact that what we're seeing now is the idea that we're okay with government employees, government bureaucrats writing code. I mean, they're writing the law here. This whole thing was done in some conference room at the BATF, perhaps the same one they used to hatch Fast and Furious. Where they killed so many hundreds of innocent people in Mexico and some here in America. But we let government bureaucrats sit there and write code. This bill never got passed in Congress. It never would have got passed, I don't think, in the Senate because it was all done there. And so if anybody still is holding on to the idea that this is not a big deal, just think about what this looks like under a Kamala Harris administration, under a Spartacus administration, you name it, under a crazy
Beto O'Rourke.
Beta.
I mean, think about what we're going to allow to have happen if we're okay with letting government bureaucrats who are not elected and not accountable, not able to be held responsible. If we allow them to write policy, we are screwed. And that's what we had happen right here. But the reason for it, of course, was obvious, right? We all know why this happened. It kept every single politician in Washington, D.C. off the hook. They never had to vote. I mean, the list of senators on the Republican side, this is the third villain in this cast of characters, if you will, folks. We had mentioned Trump. We mentioned the NRA, which, of course, deserves 95%, well, a large chunk of it. But Republican senators, the ones who are like the pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment guys, the ones that are holding the line. If you're in Iowa, I'm talking Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst. If you're in Missouri, we're talking Roy Blunt and Senator-elect Josh Hawley. All of these people came out and strongly encouraged the ATF to take action, Josh Hawley said, move quickly to ban them, move quickly. And so you got President Trump, sorry. You've got Chuck Grassley here, in Iowa. You got Joni Ernst out there, and they're all saying more or less the same thing. We strongly urge the ATF to take immediate action to review these bump stocks. No kidding, they did, because now they can sit back and they can tell everybody, oh, I never voted for a gun control bill. I never voted to ban bump stocks. Sure, because they didn't, because they had the ATF do their bidding. I mean, who else? I know we've got Senator Johnson in Wisconsin for the folks who are watching here from Wisconsin. We got Senator Portman, Chris, I believe you said back the same.
Yeah, I wanted to read this because this sums up exactly what you just said, Aaron, about how they love the idea of this being a rule enforcement thing instead of legislation. He says, I think it might be time to take that to the legislative side and make it explicit that the ATF does have the authority to ban the bump stocks. They want to side shift this entire discussion over to one of these alphabet organizations and let them do all their dirty work so that they don't ever have to take the votes. He said it. So, yeah, and of course, he said that in the context of the bump stocks. So, again, get rid of them. So,
well, that's the thing. These guys down here in Georgia, Johnny Isaacson and David Perdue, both of those guys came out in support of the bump stock ban, legislatively. And I think, do all of our states represented here, do all of the senators in those states, would all of them have supported the bump stock ban? I think they probably would have, right?
That was the whole point. If we had a chance to make an organized grassroots push, if we could have done that, this would have been shut down. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, they would have got some. I mean, sure, you're going to get McCain because he sucked on guns, and we all know that. And you're going to get Graham because he sucks on guns, and we all know that. But you're not going to get Joni Ernst, and you're not going to get Chuck Grassley. You might not even got Portman and some of these hardcore moderates to cross over because the grassroots outcry would have been large because we in our states would have done it. And if the NRA got involved, it never would have got to the floor for a vote in the first place.
Yes.
And we all know it.
And that's a better point, Aaron. And I should have made that point. They came out in the paper and said they supported it, Isaacson and Perdue. And I can guarantee you, if that thing had started to move in any of those houses, we would have unleashed holy hell on those guys. Holy hell. I've protested in front of Isaacson's neighborhood before, and I would have done it again.
Well, don't forget it was Minnesota, soon to be former Minnesota Congressman Eric Paulson was the first Republican to co-sponsor Dianne Feinstein's bump stock ban in the House. He's the guy who made it a bipartisan effort back in February, and gun owners kicked his ass in November. He lost by a massive landslide, and he's no longer going to be congressman in Minnesota because of his support for the bump stock ban, and thinking that was a good political play. It cost him his seat.
Jeez. I'm just reading some of the comments here on some of the pages. We got here at Iowa, Roy Dennis says, what a bunch of backroom double dealing bastards.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, the whole point here is that, the swamp is thick. And these people, like you said, Patrick, 20 minutes ago, I mean, they have these high dollar soiree lobbyist dinners, and they have all these little, black tie events. Everybody's, one of the power players. Everybody's cool. Everybody's part of the club in Washington, D.C., and so has the NRA become. They're part of the club. We mentioned 2 weeks ago, Wayne's knocking down $5 million a year, and we don't begrudge folks for getting paid.
That was fake news. 6
fake news.
6.
Sorry. We don't begrudge folks getting paid. We begrudge folks for getting paid to do a job and doing the freaking opposite. And let's just be clear, there's a lot of gun rights leaders, so-called, at the federal level who are doing the same freaking thing. That's a story for a separate podcast at a separate time. But that's exactly the whole
Are you
point.
sure?
It's these backroom deals, and that's why we hate backroom deals, because this is what it was when the ATF can literally write this new law in the back room, it never goes before Congress, it never goes before the people, then you know what? There's no way to push back. And it's just, that's why we lost this fight. And it's absolutely.
Well, and that's why, and that's why the organizations that do exist at the national level should have been doing something, anything leading up to this bump stock ban. I mean, Trump has been threatening this ever since last February. And I don't know about you guys, we keep a pretty close eye on what's going on. And we didn't see anybody sounding the alarm, trying to get this stuff shut down and change Trump's mind and stop the NRA from letting this stuff pass. And so, I mean, that's just political malfeasance as far as I'm concerned.
There's some folks who are having a hard time. I'm reading some of the comments here in Missouri, where, of course, we worked a lot in Missouri. We'll be again in about 3 weeks with Senator Eric Burleson. But Randall Cook down there, he says, I'm in Missouri. I can't believe Roy Blunt went that direction. Man, what the hell is happening to our Bill of Rights? You know, and he's 100% right. I mean, and on the one hand, yeah, we got to definitely hold Blunt accountable. But again, I think the point here is that, you know, he's going to follow the NRA because they are the big dog. And so if the NRA says, hey, Roy, we're down with this, you can go for it, then, you know, yeah, we gotta blame Roy Blunt. But who has given him permission to do it? That's what we keep coming back to here.
Because to somebody like him at that point, he's like, well, this is a no-brainer decision for me, because now I take away the left and the gun confiscation organizations. They can't attack me anymore, and I've been given permission to do it by the NRA. You know, so this, of course they're going to take this route. My buddy Chris Laidlaw said it very well here just now here in Ohio. He said, these FUDs just don't get it. As long as a Republican is taking away their rights, they're ready to willingly give them up. It's laughable. Change my mind. I'll wait, you know, whatever. It's true. It's just like we're all willing to sit here, and as long as it's our team that's managing the decline of our freedoms, we're willing to just take a sideline and let it happen.
I'm just gonna make I got a few. There's several trolls on the Minnesota Gun Rights Facebook page tonight. I've never seen them on here before. But I don't know. They look like they might be gun owners at one point or another. All freaking out, saying, "Why are we making a big deal about bump stocks? It means absolutely nothing."
Clueless.
That we are, you know, it's not a big. It's a non-factor.
Jeez
Your
Louise.
stance on bump stocks is like adding the tide, guys. I don't know how else to say this, but it's everything. It's the entire enchilada. This being allowed, what did you want for gun rights? Did you want national reciprocity? Did you want to be able to carry a firearm anywhere you are? Did you want suppressors being legalized? Did you want stand your ground law in Minnesota? Did you want constitutional carry? What did you want? Whatever you wanted, you didn't get because bump stocks were allowed to be banned by the NRA. That is the political reality of what's happened here. Because bump stocks were given away, you lost whatever else it is that you wanted to have passed as far as pro-gun legislation at a national level and right here in Minnesota. It cost us everything. Because the fight went from offensive to defensive. Now we had to stop something as opposed to pass something pro-gun. So open your eyes.
You know, Steve Riley, you nailed that, Ben. Steve Riley in Iowa makes kind of a similar point. He says, sure, today it's bump stocks. Tomorrow it's pistol grips. I mean, that's just the whole point here. On and on and on it goes. If they can take one right away, one accessory, one tool, you know, where's it going to stop? Thankfully, you know, for every troll, like you mentioned, Ben, who's sitting there running their mouth, you know, we've got people out there who are getting fed up. I was reading a comment here in the Wyoming gun owners. Of course, I was out in Wyoming, like all session long this year, and we passed stand your ground law. But Keith Collins is watching right now in Cody. And Keith, that's the hometown of the chairman out there, by the way, David Ball with WIGO. Keith Collins says, Cody, Wyoming here. I resigned from the NRA by letter yesterday. Member since 1980. Whoa. Lifetime member since 1993. I'm done. You know, and Keith, That's what it's going to take to wake these people up. If they're not going to fight for us, we're not going to fund it. That's just the bottom line. And if you're in Wyoming, which of course you are, Keith, certainly in state, check out Wyoming Gun Owners, join wygo.com. They have lifetime membership options as well, and they could sure use your support. It's going to be a big session out there. Kicks off in just 2.5, 3 weeks. So, I guess I'm kind of encouraged to see people like that, guys, that are sitting there saying, what the flip is the point? If we give them all this money and all this energy, if they're not going to fight for us, what is the point? And thankfully we have people like that.
The NRA raised what, $350 million, and they gave away bump stocks. I mean, I could have flown to DC for a couple $100 and said, go ahead and ban bump stocks. Why do we got to give them $300 million to sell us down the river?
Yeah. Well, I've got a good comment.
It's funny, but it's sad.
Yeah. After Ben's very accurate, we'll call it a rant there, but it really wasn't. It was just an accurate portrayal of what's going on. I had some good comments. David Peachy McSunshine in Georgia. The Georgia people got fired up during Ben's rant, and he said he needs to say this. Imagine if a Democrat was in office and asked for the ATF to ban AR-15s by redefining them as machine guns. Yeah, why not? I mean, that may be a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, why not? I mean, this is setting a precedent. Mike says it starts with bump stocks and doesn't stop there. This retired Marine says, stop it now. Douglasville, Georgia. Thank you for your service, Mike.
I got to compare. I love these comments. I got to compare and contrast. Oh, shucks. My screen just refreshed and I lost it. Someone take this conversation. I'm going to go find this comment and come back in here in just a moment.
Well, I was going to say, I'm seeing dozens, probably 24 comments on the Minnesota Gun Rights Facebook page saying I'm not renewing my NRA membership.
Yeah,
I am not doing that. This fellow right here, his comment just slid past. He said, I'm no longer going to support anybody who is not no compromise.
Preach it. I love it.
Gary says no more NRA after this. I'm canceling my membership.
Yeah, Tom Robinson says I'm going to renounce my NRA membership over this also.
And I can't.
Maybe that'll teach them a lesson, folks. If they drop from
renounce it.
If Wayne LaPierre has to take a cut on his $6 million a year salary, maybe he might start to wonder if there's something wrong.
Yeah.
Well, all they had to do was turn to their membership like we turn to our membership, because we know that that's where our strength is. It's in our membership. It's nowhere else. And all they would have had to do is say, hey, 5.6 million or however many of you there are, let's light them up. Light them up. Give them both barrels, everybody. We're not letting this die on the field of battle. We're going out there to make sure we defend our freedoms here. And the entire country would have backed off of this thing 2 seconds
mute,
later.
Ben.
2 seconds later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't find the comment because my screen is just scrolling so fast. But we had a member in Missouri Firearms Coalition member. Well, I'm sorry. No, he was just a guy on our page. And he was kind of lighting us up. He's like, I'm sorry, but no civilian needs an assault weapons like an AR-15 or a bump stock. And at the same time, the exact same time, a member of Iowa Gun Owners comes on and says, I'm tired of trading for anything. I want it all. And I love that sentiment. I mean, we don't want to make these deals.
Right.
We shouldn't have to trade for our freedom. We want it all. We want bump stocks. We want everything. We want it all. And the fastest way to lose it is to start playing these bullcrap games and giving people chunks of our freedom. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you guys are members. I doubt some of these people are who are on our page right now. But, look, it's no lie. All these state groups you see here, plus the ones that don't have banners up here. Look, we all have organizations in our states that are compromised, gutless, butt-kissing, politician-protecting organizations. I mean, we can name some names. We got George Carey. We got Buckeye Firearms Association. We have the lovely Iowa Firearms Coalition. We have the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. We've got Wisconsin Gun Owners. We got all these organizations. Look, if you want to be a part of an organization that wants to make all these deals and kiss all this ass, that's fine. But you're better served not being on our platforms, because the members of these organizations are true patriots and they don't give a crap what some lawmaker says, and they don't give a crap what anybody else says about how much freedom they should enjoy. As Tyler in Iowa said, I want it all. And that encapsulates what we're doing here every freaking day. And if the NRA doesn't want to play ball, then screw them. If they're not going to fight for us, then that's the end of it. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, not to look too far back.
Ben, go on mute, please.
Not to look too far back into history, but whenever we come to these kinds of conversations where there's division in what's supposed to be a unified rank, I kind of look back to the way it was in the Revolutionary War, and the true patriots who fought and died and gave everything to make this country a country, and pound that tyranny back down Britain's throat. They were constantly fighting this flanking action the entire time, and that was the loyalists that poisoned the cancer that existed in the early American colonies, and we're not asking for everybody to agree with us here. If you don't have the stomach for the fight, just get on the sidelines. Get on the sidelines. Don't become full-blown loyalists. Just get on the sidelines and let those who want to fight. Just stop trying, because they took this stuff very seriously back then. Who are we to sit here and say, they paid the price in full for our freedom, and we have it all. We have a right to it all, but we're just gonna negotiate away a little bit. We're gonna back off here and let a little bit of this go. It was paid for in full by our ancestors and by those who have served before. It was paid for in full, but now we're just gonna give some of it away. That's just un-American. And sorry. It's like Aaron said just a minute ago. If you just don't agree with us, or you want to sit there and snitpick, just leave, get away, go find some other organization to join. Buckeye Firearms would gladly have any loyalists join their organization. We don't want you here yet.
But I think there's a sea change underway right now. I mean, the word is getting out, not just about the NRA, but about these in-state organizations that kiss all this tail. I mean, look, I'm sitting here in my office in Des Moines, Iowa right now. I'm about 8.5 hours away from the Capitol in Columbus, Ohio. But I got people on the IGO page right now saying, you mean like the Ohio Buckeye Firearms Group doesn't even deserve to have the name firearms in their name. I mean, these are people who are 8.5 hours away. I mean, look,
you guys, they rock.
We are going to freaking call these people out.
Those are my people.
And now that we're 3 weeks away from session kicking off in about a cajillion states, we are going to call these people out. We're going to call out fake federal organizations. We're going to call out impotent federal organizations. We're going to call out fake state organizations. We're going to call out impotent state organizations. If you don't want to fight, then get the hell out of the way.
Woo!
This is a fight.
Don't pretend that's what you're doing. Don't pretend. And fleece gun owners.
Yeah, and like I said, that change is already underway. I mean, my page is plugged right now. Here's one in Iowa. Proud gun owner, not renewing my NRA membership. Will join IGO next week. That's what he's saying. This is David here.
Nice.
In Iowa, we've got another David Jordan. NRA just called me for my renewal yesterday. My response. No. So they're, and I think I hate to sound, you don't want to make this too personal, but we have these conversations with gun owners sometimes. I get these older gentlemen who have been, NRA members for sometimes, 50, 60 years. It's literally a part of their DNA, and I respect them for, being involved in the fight in the best way they knew how, for all that time. But they get pretty upset, when they kind of contemplate some of this. But I think what encourages me is that while we still try to work with that individual, his son, he gets that he's being screwed. And his grandson is like, hell no, I'm going to fight with an organization that wants to throw down, not some group out there who wants to play games and pay their top guys $6 million and have the high life in Washington, D.C. I want to fight because I know that this is an actual fight. And if we don't fight for it now, we're screwed. And so I like to see that his grandson, is the one out there who is they're just not buying the crap anymore. They're not buying because it's not even their fault. It's not even their fault because, 10 years ago, 20 years ago or 50 years ago, what happened in D.C. stayed in D.C. Heck, what happened in Des Moines, stayed in Des Moines. What happened in Atlanta stayed in Atlanta. And there was almost no ability for the word to get out. But that is done. That is done. And organizations like the ones you guys see on the screen here right now are going to be that voice. And we're, like I said, we are going to call a spade, and we're going to call these scoundrels out because they deserve it.
Look, it was not the NRA. It was not the NRA who called out and brought the heat down on top of Congressman Eric Paulson. Now, we're a state gun rights organization, but it was the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights who ran Eric Paulson out of office. The NRA, they did nothing. They did nothing to bring down any heat on any of the anti-gunners in Minnesota. I don't know about you guys in your states. I know that they, with you, Patrick, down in Georgia, they jumped on at the very, very last couple of days, going after Stacey Abrams after GGO knocked her socks off. They jump on at the last moment, or they do nothing at all. It's the state organizations, Minnesota gun rights members and supporters who knocked people like Eric Paulson out of office in Congress, not the NRA. So if you're sitting there going, well, they're national, your state, well, it was our state, guys. It was our members and supporters who knocked Eric Paulson out of office, not the NRA. So, hey, keep that stuff in mind.
I read on our Second Amendment Daily Facebook page where we're hosting tonight's podcast here, guys. We got Ryan, who's watching all the time, Ryan Chesney. Doesn't have to be a want or a need. It's my right, and I will not, in capital letters, not support any group that isn't willing to that is not willing to protect my rights. Andrew Grunwald, I've reached out to the NRA and have no response on the crap they have pulled. I think you're not the only one, Andrew. I think you're one of cajillions of people right now who are calling them. And sometimes people try to figure out if we're telling the truth or not, but there's nothing left to be verified. I mean, we're playing, we've been playing the audio clips. We're playing the videos. We showed you guys, the video 2 weeks ago of Chris Cox loudly calling for red flag gun seizure laws. Now you're seeing Wayne set up. What'd you call him, Patrick? What was that nickname?
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew sitting there with Dickerson, John Dickerson on CBS, saying the ATF should take him in effect. So there's no more question about what's happening now. This is going on, and the biggest player in the field is betraying us.
I almost feel like we should play some of those videos and stuff over again because there's a, as we all know, a lot of these people cycle through. You want to throw that stuff up again, Patrick, especially that video.
Let's run Micah. Let's run the New York Times piece first. So what y'all are about to see, if you're just now joining us, everybody, we are talking about the bump stock ban signed by President Trump, or the ATF, President Trump's ATF, but the political cover was provided by the NRA 14 months ago. And the first thing we're going to show you here is the NRA supports New York Times. There's the piece. And then coming up next is Wayne LaPierre. This is 14 months ago on national television. National television. Okay, there's the statement from the NRA that Mike has just popped up there saying they support it. So they provided the political cover. This is very, very important. Yes, Trump should get heat for this, but the NRA provided the political cover. He knows they're the big dog on the street on this, and he did it. So now here's the video of Wayne LaPierre on national TV saying that the NRA supports, basically saying that the ATF should ban these things. Go ahead.
Is the NRA position it can't be done through legislation, or you oppose it? Where are you on this?
No, we think ATF ought to do its job, look at this, and draw a bright line.
If I'm a Republican and I'm a fan of the NRA, do I want to say no or yes to legislation that does this?
I think you want to tell ATF to do its job. It's an interpretive issue, and they need to get the job done.
So there it was, guys, and I want to make a point because a lot of people say, well, Trump should get heat, and we talked about, and he should, and we talked about the fact that when this happened, some of y'all may remember that we signed multiple letters, a group of about a dozen state-level gun organizations, and I personally had a contact at the White House who works on Second Amendment legislative issues, and we put in no uncertain terms should there be any gun control passed out, and we listed off all the red flags and all these different issues. But ultimately, they got to pass the buck. They didn't take it before Congress, where I think there would have been massive pushback like we talked about earlier. And so they just passed it off to the ATF with the political cover. So all these gun groups saying no, but with the political cover of the NRA, they did it. And I think had that cover not been there, it would have been a lot more difficult decision, may not have even happened. Really.
And again, it never would have got to the floor of the Senate, is my guess. If they had not had the cover from the NRA, if the NRA came out and said no and hell no, it never would have got to the floor. All these senators, Isaacson, Portman, Ernst, Blunt, Cornyn, Grassley, Imhoff, Senator-elect Hawley down there in Missouri. I mean, all of these people would have never stood up there and said, "Yeah, we're going to vote to take them away." This was a look. Just because we all despise politicians doesn't mean we can't respect a smart political tactic when it screws us over. Especially, this was a smart tactic. They can stand there now when they come back, to events in Springfield, Missouri, and Spencer, Iowa, and Spring Valley, Ohio, and say, "Oh no. We never voted. I never voted anti-gun. Never. And that's true. It's true, because this little deal allowed them to have the ATF take care of their dirty business. They can now tell the media, "Oh yes, we were responsive to gun violence," and they can tell gun owners, "Oh yeah, we never supported gun control." You see that? It's just such a screw job, and it's our Second Amendment rights that are paying the price. And they've been doing it for years. We talked about this on another episode. We don't have to go into all these issues, but I was listening to them off today on Georgia Gun Owners Live. So now we have bump stock ban, fix NICS, gun-free school zones. I didn't even mention John McCain and Mitt Romney, both of whom supported gun control. Lautenberg gun ban. What else do we have? Brady, the machine gun ban in what was it, 86? The 68 gun control, the 38 and 34 major gun control acts, where they admitted that they wrote the legislation for Franklin freaking Roosevelt, guys. I mean, if you read about this guy, and I don't care if I hurt your feelings, I doubt any of y'all really even care about him, but this guy he woke up in the morning, people get on Trump for, the Fed this, the Fed that, screw the Fed. Well, I agree with that, but Roosevelt literally would wake up in the morning and say, "This is the price of gold today." I mean, this guy, he wanted to be the Stalin, the Mussolini, the Hitler, so to speak, of America. He wanted to be there forever. He was there for 12 years, right? So, but the NRA wrote all the gun control legislation federally that we've seen, and here we are again with the bump stocks.
Wayne? Yeah, I mean, you got Wayne Lapierre. That's a really nice suit he's wearing. Costs like $6 million. By the way,
nice.
Exactly.
$6 million suit he's wearing.
$6 million man.
Well, that was we forgot to mention the irony. The NRA's statement, from 2 days ago. You got it, Chris? Yeah, I was going to show mine.
I don't know if you guys can read it. If my camera.
Oh yeah, we can read it. We can read it. Yeah, I mean that was the utter disgusting nature of this whole thing. So after they say, sure, ban them. After Lapierre goes on national news and says, yeah, the ATF should do their freaking job. Take them. After that, what do they tell everybody? What do they tell America 2 days ago? Oh, we're disappointed in the Trump administration.
Disappointed.
I mean, talk about a double deal and backstabbing son of a biscuit who was just trying to protect his own donor base. That's all that was.
Yeah.
The last thing they want to have happen is have their members realize that the NRA came out there on October 5, 2017. I think it was the date. Yes. And said, you know what? Take them. That was what they said in effect. And so now it's, we're disappointed in the Trump administration. Utterly. I mean, if I was Trump, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, that's what we talk. That's what we talk about. What we call speaking out of both sides of our mouth, right? Or that double speak, or whatever we call it in D.C. It's exactly what it is. They knew. We were talking about earlier. I guarantee you, they know that they're getting hit from their right flank by people like us, and we're pretty much the only players out there. There's some others, obviously, but not very effective. But and so they knew that they had to say something that would catch a headline. And when someone sees that headline, we're disappointed. They don't really look into it. They're like, oh, NRA, okay. It was total BS.
Yeah.
Total BS.
It's a scam.
At least
it's a scam. I mean, it's a scam for money. That's what this is. I mean, it's a scam. And that's all we're going to hear from the NRA now for the next 2 years, at least. Oh my gosh, give us money to stop Nancy Pelosi. We can't pass national reciprocity as long as we have Nancy Pelosi in Washington, D.C. So give us your money to help stop Nancy Pelosi. And should we stop Pelosi? Of course we should. But the point is that gun owners already did. They stopped her and her ideology in 2016 when they elected Donald Trump and kept the majorities that we had. So they already stopped that ideology. They stopped that witch, whatever, however, big or small view you want to take. And that was their shot. That was all of our shot to go on offense. We just watched all that go down the drain. It just swirled around the drain. And now we're right back to, oh my gosh, we're on defense. Send us your money to stop Nancy Pelosi. Just, it makes my blood boil. That's all. Cause I just,
look, Wayne, $6 million Wayne has been walking around in DC for 25 years. Look, you don't walk around DC pocketing millions and millions and millions of dollars and not become part of the swamp. Okay. I know he's got professional copywriters. He's given the best things to say. Sometimes he gives the best rah-rah Second Amendment speeches. But when you get paid millions and millions of dollars, you can hire people to tell you what to say. And you become part of the swamp. And that's exactly what's happened. It's exactly what's happened to the NRA.
And they are working right now 24 hours a day preparing to, and a lot of y'all said y'all are getting calls at your house. They are licking their chops, money dogs, the NRA is, with Nancy Pelosi about to head in there. They're licking their chops. So beware. You're going to get a call.
Comments here. I mean, I'm going to read 3 comments in a row, just hinging off your point there, and mine also from a minute ago. This is on the IGO page. Gene Geiger says, all state gun owner organizations need to somehow come together to be stronger than the national NRA. State by state is great, but there has to be a federal level group that actually works.
Amen.
Well said. Well said. Yep. Clifford Walker says, no more NRA for me. I'm done. Well said. Roy Dennis says, you guys need to get together and form a national gun owners coalition so we have a voice in Washington, D.C., one that isn't selling us down the damn river.
Nice.
So, I mean, folks,
I'm just going to throw that out there for my Ohio people. If you guys think that Ohio gun owners should become or should join up with a federal organization or help found a federal organization that fights at the federal level, why don't you guys give me a big happy face right now? I just want to gauge some interest here because
just do it across all the platforms, guys. Give us some thumbs up in Missouri. Give us some thumbs up in Wyoming. Give us some thumbs up in Georgia. Give us thumbs up in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, wherever you're watching from. Because this is getting out. This is getting ridiculous. I think about all these. For me, it just gets kind of personal. I think about all these donors, these supporters who back these organizations, our organizations. And these are the best people in any state, anywhere. And you see these checks come in. I know you guys see them too. And you can hardly read the person's handwriting, for a moment, because that's a 90-year-old man. That's a 95-year-old woman. That's a person who's giving their last cent. I mean, I get letters with these donations. Sorry, it's only $20. I had to pull it from my grocery budget for the month. And when I get those letters, my arm hair starts to tingle because that level of sacrifice.
That's a high honor.
It's a high honor. And to sit there and think of all those people out there who are doing just that and send it off to the National Rifle Association every year after year, year after year, year after year. I mean, it makes me furious for them because I know firsthand, I know personally the level of that sacrifice that so many people, are making. And, it's just, it's like I say, it's a high honor to do that. And so if you don't use that, if you don't treat that with respect, then shame on you, and shame on these.
I'm just going to say it after I put the question out there. My happy faces have been crushing it here. So guys, I think we're gonna have to talk about this a little bit more afterwards.
Well, no one's getting it done. No one's getting it done, and I think we all know the NRA's game now. That's not lost on us. There's other organizations in DC who are more conservative, but You know, look, how do I say this the nicest way I possibly can? The gun rights movement needs people who will fight like rabid freaking dogs. The time to have Sunday school teachers lead this charge is over.
Yeah.
You know, we're losing everything. And now that was before Pelosi was in charge. And we have 2 more years of the Trump administration. Maybe he wins. God help us. Maybe he wins. But what if he doesn't? And we get who led there's a poll came out in Iowa, the Iowa poll last weekend. Patrick, you saw it too. I forget who led that poll.
Biden was at the top of that one.
Biden,
Joe.
And then you've got Beto, little beta boy Beto from Texas. I mean, these people are hardcore, take them all Democrats. They have learned from the assault weapons ban of '94. They will never again, ever pass a gun control bill with a sunset clause. Never again. The minute these people get the votes to do this, the minute they have the power to do it, they're going to take away all of our freedoms. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. This is coming. And so, yeah, there's other organizations out there. But, you know, I just look, I mean, like I said, and our members understand this. I mean, I know the folks in Iowa know firsthand, you know, that, look, I mean, the fight gets nasty in Des Moines. I mean, you got to throw down with little Primpin ain't easy, little Matty Winchell, you know, every 15 seconds. You know, in Ohio, I mean, gosh, Christopher had so many throwdowns with that nasty John Kasich, who's got he's got a week left in office, I guess, now, or 10, 11 days.
We're happy.
You know, it's been the same in Georgia, and it's been even worse in Minnesota than it has been in Iowa.
We had the Speaker of the House was screaming in our face last session, screaming face to face at Chris and I in the state capitol, trying to shut us down for calling him out for being an anti-gunner.
So we know what it takes. I mean, and it's not that you know, I'm not saying that we have to be personally nasty. We don't call people names and, you know, knee them in the groin in the elevator. But as an organization,
sometimes I do.
Hey,
the names
even
part.
though I will admit this is extremely tempting. Extremely tempting.
But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, the organizationally have to have a killer attitude. You know, it is kill or be killed. It is eat or get eaten.
Reach
in politics, and these people are playing for keeps.
Yep.
Nancy Pelosi, you know, she's not going to be alive very long. Dianne Feinstein, she's like 80 plus years old.
That's what
she's
you
going to be
think.
dead before. And these people are determined to gut what we have left in any way they can before they're finally out of office, one way or the other, by retirement, by being unelected, or by dying in office.
And here's something we know simply from our experience at the state legislatures and everything, and that is these people aren't superhumans. What happens at the state legislatures, it's the same disgusting game at Congress in DC. So when we sit here and kind of just ponder this idea of a larger coalition or a federation, if you will, of state gun rights organizations formulating into a federal, you know, hey, the players are all the same. They're all scumbags. The way we fight back, it's the same. It's the grassroots. I have somebody here in the comments section saying it's the people. The people need to do this. We can't trust in organizations and other things to do it for us. That's what these organizations are all about. It's about not us. It's about harnessing the grassroots and having you guys fight for yourselves. That's what it's all about. And that's what is severely lacking in DC right now. It's all a bunch of people who
we've all watched this happen.
They're too concerned with getting their Christmas pictures taken at the Christmas parties at the White House like a bunch of goobering idiots. That's what's going on in DC right now.
They remind me of
the next day,
they remind me of the dude on The Big Lebowski. I mean,
yeah,
that's what we're dealing with here. And you know, not to cut you off, Patrick, but Christopher's point, just spot on, because we've seen this so many times. When gun owners know what's going on, they're not screwed over, they're not betrayed, they have a chance to fight back for their rights. Guess what? Politicians get their asses kicked at election time. It happens over and over and over. I mean, we have dozens of anti-gun politicians here in Iowa who line the gutter of Iowa political history. 34-year incumbent Senate Majority Leader Mike Gronstal killed politically by gun owners. I mean, it's not just in Iowa. I mean, let's see here in Georgia, what'd you spend, Patrick, knocking out or making sure your gun owners knocked out a socialist Stacey Abrams? I mean, you guys went to war out there.
$100,000, man, $100,000.
I mean, so and what happened? You know, gun owners had the facts, and boom, she's gone. I mean, it's not just in these states; it's also in hardcore red states. You look at Wyoming. The members of Wyoming gun owners, some of whom are in the House tonight, gave a ton of money to Wyoming gun owners, and they spent it very wisely going after and exposing anti-gun, corrupt Republican lawmakers like Senator Fred Emmerich, 12-year incumbent. And guess what? Little Freddie, he's gone.
Out.
He's gone because WIGO members said, you know what? Get the hell out. You know, and so when like Chris said, it's about these people. It's about the members. And when the members have the facts, the members are given the full story and not screwed over by their quote-unquote leaders at the state and federal level, you know, great things happen to bad politicians. Namely, they lose their reelection in many cases. And that's exactly what has to happen.
That is really something that separates. Sorry, I mean, we're all fighting for the microphone here, but that's something that separates our organizations from any other type of organization that is out there. We are full-blown transparent. We let people know nearly everything that we do. I mean, there's a lot of the minutia, boring stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but maybe we need this type of an organization in DC fighting so that everybody actually knows what's going on, what the donor dollars are actually being spent on, what ads are being bought in what congressional districts. I mean, there's so many things that need to change. We see a lot of people here on our Facebook page on Ohio Gun Owners right now saying, join with Gun Owners of America. Well, I got to tell you, that's a completely different style of an organization. It's largely, educational organization. It's not the brawling, bare knuckles, no holds barred type of an organization that is desperately needed in DC. That's what Ohio Gun Owners is here in Ohio. And as we sit here and talk about this, all of us, I think that's something that would probably need to be addressed is we're not looking to go and join what is already in existence, because what is already in existence is not working. It's not working. So
that's true.
Bobby Calhoun in Minnesota says it needs to be done, and I'm in. And then he said we need in-your-face people fighting for us. We couldn't agree more with that.
I think as we kind of wrap this thing down here, I think we're at that point here, guys. Unless I'm wrong, I think it's just important again to kind of recap what we're talking about, which is the simple fact of the matter that Trump screwed up big time on banning bump stocks, no doubt about it. And but he was given a green light by the NRA, who came out there and said, absolutely, take them. We don't care. Have the ATF take them. And of course, he was given a big thumbs up from all these pro-gun senators. You know, we're talking about Ernst and Grassley, Imhoff and Portman. Where's my list? Isaacson and Johnson, Blunt and Cornyn, Josh Hawley, all these people who are like, oh yeah, take them, because they didn't have to vote for it. And so they get a pass. And that is the problem. You have the big lobby, which is the NRA, playing a game with, all they're supposed to be going head to head, fighting for us down there in DC. Instead, it's all one big game. So the NRA says, sure, you can take them. U.S. senators say, oh, okay, now we get cover on this. They collectively tell Trump, it's fine, just take them. And so what happened? They've been taken. And we've been taken for a ride. And that's the disgusting, dirty truth about this. And it's going to happen again at the state level beginning in about 3 weeks. We know this firsthand. It's going to be all kinds of room for deals. We've talked about red flags repeatedly on this show, but red flags will be the defining issue of the 2019 session in almost every Republican-controlled legislature for sure, and all of them, and the Democrat-controlled ones. But what I'm saying is the deals, the compromises, that's going to be made in red states.
Yeah.
Red Iowa, red Georgia, red Ohio. Of course, they've already tried and lost. Red Missouri. This is where the deals will be made. They'll make a bad bill a little bit better. The NRA is going to sign off on it, and we have to be watching out for this. And we will on behalf of the organizations that are here tonight. But it's going to be a bloody battle, no doubt about it.